And on the very practical level, I love getting my screenplays out there so that people youngsters who want to become screenwriters, have access to the screenplays and can read them and say, oh, so that's what a screenplay looks like. Oh, this one's kind of interesting. Oh, look, this is how Frank Darabont wrote it. Maybe that'll help inspire some youngsters to write or help guide them in some way. I remember when I was a kid, published screenplays didn't really exist. That was not a thing then.
Yep.
So as you're sitting there in junior high school or high school thinking, gee, I'd like to be a screenwriter someday, you're going, well, I don't even know what a screenplay looks like.
That's right. What's that?
What does it even look like? I have no idea. I've never had the chance to read one. Nowadays, of course, you have access to pretty much anything. The published screenplay became a thing, as sort of as my career was starting. They were starting to publish things like that, and I was able to actually get my hands on some classic screenplays and read them. Even as a professional by then, even as a guy who was making my living doing it, it was a wonderful thing to be able to grab a screenplay for a movie I loved and read it. And
probably more so.
So that's how William Goldman wrote that. Oh, that's interesting. You read a great screenplay and it's tremendously inspiring. It's a great reading experience. I remember Quentin Tarantino slipping me the script to Kill Bill, and I got the chance to read that, before he even made the movie, and I was just knocked out by it. It's a great reading experience, even if you don't see the movie. Not all screenplays do that. A lot of them are actually quite difficult to get through. But the good ones, oh man, they capture you, they grab you. Quentin's a great writer. William Goldman was a great writer. Patty Chayefsky. If you read any of those screenplays, I think if you're interested in being a screenwriter, those are the ones, those are among the names I would certainly recommend. You're well on your way. At the very least, you'll know what the format of a screenplay page looks like. So, just on a practical level, I'm glad these scripts are going to be out there.
Absolutely, and I think in particular with how the screenplays are coupled with all the bonus materials, I would imagine that not only are budding screenwriters and probably expert screenwriters as well that are already doing it, are probably going to look at your scripts, I would think, too, and think, wow, so this is what it takes to get a good screenplay going, but it's also not necessary. There's other things that can happen, and there's things you can let go of to actually help it serve the movie that you're eventually going to tell through that screenplay.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. In fact, that is a great point. When you read a screenplay, I've read a number of James Cameron screenplays, for example. He's another brilliant screenwriter. Aaron Sorkin, etc. When you see what the writer thought was going to be important, that's really the funny thing looking back on my own scripts. Things that I thought were absolutely vital that had to be in the movie. Sometimes you're in the editing room having shot that and you're going, why did I think I needed this? This is disposable, this line of dialogue or this half of a scene or this event or whatever. You never really know until you're editing. If the movie is telling you what it wants to be when you're editing it. But it is reassuring to know that that's part of the process. Yeah, sometimes what's the script should be a really good blueprint. That doesn't mean there isn't room to adjust as you go along or even improvise as you go along. But it is a blueprint. It's not the finished house. The finished house is the finished house. The blueprint is the blueprint. So seeing how things do and can evolve because of time, circumstances, a set fell over, an actor got sick, or an actor had a great idea. You learn a lot by reading a script of a film you're familiar with. That's what I found.
Yeah, it was definitely my favorite part.
Yeah, and that's a really good point you made. Good, a good part of the learning process is not just seeing what worked, but seeing what didn't work or wasn't necessary.
Right, and imagine the challenge as a screenwriter, if you're not going to direct your own film, is to know that you got to connect with the right kind of director who will at least be able to see those points during the script. And hey, wait a second, here's something that needs to change.
Oh boy, you said a mouthful. That was the headline comment of the day. What you just said, because boy, in my experience, I've had more as a writer, not counting my own movies, but I've had as a writer, I've had more disappointments than results where I jumped up and said, wow, great, I'm so proud of this. Some screenwriters have had better luck than I have connecting with a director.
Yeah.
And unless you really connect with that director and those instincts, those creative instincts have a harmonic vibration, you're going to wind up being disappointed with what that director did to your script. And that's an unfortunate side effect of being a working screenwriter, because those experiences have been more the case for me than not. Having said that, I've had a great 30-year run.
Is that all it's been?
That's pretty amazing in itself, looking back on it. It's like, wow, from a kid who was hoping that maybe someday he'd be a screenwriter, maybe someday he'd make a movie, looking now back on it, going, wow, man, that kicked in, those gears.
That wasn't bad.
I had like 30 years straight of work, and there's not that many people who can say that. So, again, I feel blessed. I'm counting my blessings these days.
Good.
That's what I'm saying.